They laughed when the HOA queen slapped a $750 fine on my ugly-ass flood berm and called it a crime against curb appeal. They kept laughing when she rallied the whole cul-de-sac on the neighborhood app to shame me as the crazy prepper ruining property values in Willow Creek Estates. But the second that sky opened up and the creek turned into a raging monster, the only sound left was the wet slap of their designer patio furniture smashing against what used to be their million-dollar backyards. Stick around because this Hoa Karen story doesn't end with fines. It ends with the mountain of evidence I'd been stacking higher than her ego finally burying her whole board alive. I'd lived on the edge lot for 8 quiet years after my wife passed, just me and the sound of the creek that everyone else treated like background music. But I was a retired hydrologist. I didn't listen to music, I listened to water. And for months the creek had been whispering the wrong tune. Tiny sinkholes popping up behind the common area fence. Culverts that used to roar now just gurgled like they were choking on years of HO-approved natural landscaping. That was really just fancy weeds blocking everything. I measured the water table every dawn with the same battered probe I'd used on dam projects from California to Colorado. The numbers didn't lie. One more heavy spring storm and the whole back half of the neighborhood was going to learn what flash flood really meant. So I built the berm. Not some cute little rock garden with fairy lights. This was raw timber cribbing, layered fieldstone, perforated drain pipes snaking through the base, and a gentle swale that could redirect 10,000 gallons an hour straight into the retention pond I'd quietly dug at the lowest corner of my lot. It looked like a Civil War earthwork had a baby with a landfill. Functional as hell. Ugly as sin. Exactly what the Willow Creek HOA covenants, written by people who thought drainage was a dirty word, would never allow. I was still bolting the last crossbrace when the click-clack of designer heels announced the apocalypse. Vanessa Harrington, HOA president, self-crowned empress of tasteful beige everything, stopped 20 feet away like my berm might bite her. She wore white linen pants that had never seen dirt, and a smile sharper than her acrylic nails. "Ethan," she cooed, voice dripping fake concern. "Darling, what on earth is that?" I didn't stop tightening the bolt. "Stormwater diversion system. Creek's about to jump its banks." She blinked once slowly like I'd spoken Klingon. "It's a violation of Article 4, Section 2.3, no exterior modifications without architectural review. And frankly, it's hideous. The Johnsons just installed a new infinity pool. This thing is going to tank their resale value." I finally looked up. "The Johnsons' pool is going to be an indoor feature if we don't divert this water." Vanessa's laugh was light, musical, and completely fake. "Oh sweetie, we had the creek dredged 2 years ago. Everything's fine. Remove it by Friday or the fine starts at $750 and doubles every week." Board vote was unanimous. She spun on her heel, already typing on her phone. "The group chat is going to love this one." That night the first violation notice slid under my door in a crisp cream envelope that smelled like vanilla and entitlement. $750 for unauthorized earthwork. I scanned it, dated it, and dropped it into the folder labeled Exhibit A. Then I went back outside with a headlamp and drove the last steel anchor 6 feet deep. The ground hummed under my boots like it was thanking me. By sunrise the neighborhood Facebook group, lovingly titled Willow Creek Living the Dream, had exploded. Someone had taken drone shots of my berm from 3 angles. Captions ranged from "What is that monstrosity?" to "Do we need to call code enforcement or an exorcist?" Vanessa pinned her own post at the top. "Neighbors, as your president, I'm heartbroken to see such disregard for our community standards. Let's show Ethan some grace while reminding him that beauty matters." 47 likes. 12 laughing emojis. 0 people asking why a grown man would spend 3 weekends in the sun building something that looked like it belonged in a Mad Max movie. I kept my mouth shut and kept working. That was the part they never understood. I wasn't fighting them. I was racing the water table. The second confrontation came during the monthly HOA social hour, which was really just wine and passive aggression in the clubhouse. I showed up because the bylaws said I had to for any variance request. Vanessa was holding court by the charcuterie board, explaining to a circle of perfectly coiffed wives why my berm was literally an assault on our aesthetic integrity. I waited until she took a breath. You ever read the 2009 geotechnical report the developer buried? The room went quiet except for the clink of someone dropping a cheese cube. Vanessa's smile didn't even flicker. Ethan, darling, we don't discuss ancient history. The board reviewed everything when we took over. Funny, I said, pulling a yellowed copy from my back pocket. Because page 47 specifically warns about saturated soils under lots 12 through 18. Your house, the Johnsons' Victor Lang's McMansion. Recommended French drains and berms. Never installed. Wonder why. Victor Lang, the developer liaison who still swung by to advise the board, choked on his Merlot. Vanessa recovered faster. Those documents are not part of our official records. If you're going to spread conspiracy theories, we'll have to vote on a formal censure. I folded the report and slipped it back into my pocket. Vote away. The creek won't. That night the fines tripled. Unauthorized drainage. Visual blight. Emotional distress to neighbors. They were inventing new ones faster than I could stack rock. The group chat turned vicious. He's weaponizing weather, someone wrote. Another. My kids are scared of the ugly wall. I screenshotted every post, every comment, every time-stamped fine. The folder was getting thick. But the real shift happened when old Mr. Delgado from Lot 9 knocked on my door at 2 a.m. He used to run utilities for the county before he retired. Hands shaking, he handed me a thumb drive. I kept copies, he whispered. Lang paid the inspector to sign off on mitigated risk. Never happened. Those culverts are still the originals, half collapsed. Vanessa knows. She killed my variance request last year when I tried to fix the one behind her pool house. I copied everything, thanked him, and watched him shuffle back into the dark. The next morning I launched my drone at sunrise. Thermal imaging showed exactly what the 2009 report predicted. Cold blue pockets of water pooling under Vanessa's Infinity Edge pool, under Victor's 3-car garage, under half the board's backyards. The berm wasn't just for me anymore. It was the only thing standing between their perfect lives and a very wet reckoning. The escalation turned personal fast. Vanessa started showing up unannounced with her little entourage, clipboard in one hand, phone recording in the other. Ethan, we're giving you one last chance to dismantle that structure before we place a lien. I was knee-deep in the swale, adjusting the grade so water would sheet off cleanly. You're standing in the exact spot the water will hit first if I tear it down. Want to test that theory? She actually took one step back before catching herself. You're threatening me? No, ma'am. I'm threatening physics. Her laugh was brittle this time. The board meets Tuesday. Expect to be removed from the community for cause. Tuesday came. They voted 5-0 to fine me another $2,000 and start lien proceedings. Victor Lang made a big show of offering to buy out my berm at scrap value if I removed it voluntarily. I smiled, thanked him, and emailed the entire board, plus the county flood control office. A 47-page packet with drone footage, soil cores, the buried 2009 report, and every fine they'd ever issued me. Subject line. Imminent public safety hazard, your move. The replies were swift. Vanessa's was a single line. Your application for variance is denied. Further communication will be handled through counsel. I closed the laptop, walked outside, and tightened one more bolt. The creek was already rising. I could hear it chuckling in the dark. By the time the sky turned the color of a fresh bruise, the neighborhood app was on fire again. Why is my grass squishy? Pool water looks weird. My retaining wall just moved an inch. I sat on my porch with a coffee and watched the rain start. Fat, angry drops that sounded like the planet clearing its throat. The berm waited, quiet and ugly and ready. Then the real storm hit. The rain didn't fall so much as detonate. Within 20 minutes the creek had doubled in width and was chewing at the banks like a starved animal. I stood under the overhang, rain jacket hood up, phone recording every second. The thermal drone feed on my tablet showed the cold blue water pockets under the HOA board's properties swelling like bruises ready to burst. Across the street, porch lights flipped on one by one. People who had roasted me for months were now standing in their driveways in bathrobes. staring at backyards that were rapidly becoming lakes. I heard Vanessa's voice first shrill, carrying over the roar even from 3 houses down. "Victor! Call someone. My pool is overflowing." I almost felt bad. Almost. Then the first culvert gave way with a sound like a cannon shot. Muddy water exploded out from under the common area fence and raced straight for the row of McMansions. The Johnsons' infinity pool became a chocolate fountain in reverse. Their brand new outdoor kitchen island floated away like a sad little raft. Somewhere a car alarm started screaming as water reached the electronics. My berm took the first wave like it had been waiting its whole life for this moment. The timber creaked, the stone shifted a half-inch, but the water sheared left exactly as designed and poured harmlessly into my retention pond. I felt the vibration through my boots and allowed myself one small bitter smile. Vanessa appeared at the end of my driveway, designer raincoat already soaked through, hair plastered to her face like a drowned rat. She was no longer the polished president. She was a woman watching her kingdom dissolve. "You!" she screamed, pointing a shaking finger. "You caused this with your stupid wall." I didn't raise my voice. "The storm did that for me. I diverted it." "You're welcome." She took 2 steps closer, heels sinking into the new mud. "I'm calling the sheriff. I'm suing you for everything. This is your fault." Behind her, Victor Lang's garage door was already half underwater. His Tesla started floating in the driveway like a shiny black boat. He stumbled out in pajama pants, phone held high like it could somehow save him. "Ethan," he yelled. "What the hell did you do?" "Same thing the 2009 report told you to do 15 years ago. You buried it." "I didn't." Lightning flashed and for one perfect second I saw every face in the cul-de-sac turn toward me, not with mockery this time, but with the raw, dawning realization that the ugly eyesore they'd spent months hating had just become the only thing between them and bankruptcy. Vanessa's pool house collapsed first. The fancy cabana with the built-in bar and the $12,000 teak lounge chairs simply folded into the rising water like it was made of wet cardboard. Her scream cut through the thunder. I almost felt guilty. Then I remembered the $4,200 in fines still taped to my refrigerator, and the lien notice sitting in my inbox. The water kept rising. My berm held. Their perfect world did not. By 3 a.m., the county flood control trucks had arrived, blue lights strobing across the disaster zone. An engineer in a yellow rain suit walked straight up to my berm, ran a hand along the timber, then looked at me with something close to awe. "You built this?" "Had to." He nodded once. "Saved half the block. We're gonna need your plans." Vanessa was standing in knee-deep water in what used to be her backyard, sobbing into her phone while trying to direct the fire department to save the rose garden. The roses were already halfway to the next county. I turned off the drone, saved the final footage, and walked inside to make another pot of coffee. The folder labeled Exhibit A was now 2 inches thick. By morning it would be 3. The sun came up on a neighborhood that looked like a war zone. Mud everywhere. Cars on their sides. Vanessa's once pristine white siding now the color of chocolate milk up to the 2nd story. The group chat, which had spent weeks calling me every name in the HOA handbook, had gone eerily silent. Until Vanessa posted the first message of the new era. "Emergency board meeting tonight. Mandatory. We need to discuss Ethan's structure." I laughed so hard I almost spilled my coffee. They still thought they were in charge. They were about to learn the creek had other ideas. The emergency meeting was held in the clubhouse because half the board no longer had usable living rooms. I walked in carrying the expanded folder like it was a loaded weapon. The room smelled of wet carpet and defeat. Vanessa sat at the head table, makeup hastily applied, eyes puffy. Victor Lang wouldn't meet my gaze. The Johnsons looked like they'd aged 10 years overnight. Vanessa cleared her throat. "We are here to vote on immediate removal of the unauthorized structure on Lot 18, and to assess liability for last night's incident." I didn't wait for her to finish. I slid the folder across the table. "Before you vote, you might want to read page 62. It's the county flood control preliminary report they emailed me at 6 a.m. They're calling my berm a textbook example of proper mitigation. They're also opening an investigation into why the 2009 geotechnical recommendations were never followed. Victor went pale. Vanessa's hand trembled as she flipped the pages. I kept going, voice low and steady. They found the missing pages in the county archive this morning. Your signatures are on the cover letter where you certified everything was fully mitigated. Funny how the signatures matched the ones on my lien notice. The room was so quiet I could hear the drip of water still leaking from the clubhouse roof. Vanessa tried one last time. This is character assassination. We were protecting property values. Property values? I laughed once, short and sharp. Your infinity pool is currently in the neighbor's basement. My house is dry. Which one of us protected values? The county inspector who had shown up unannounced chose that moment to step inside. He was still in his mud-caked boots. Actually, he said, we're condemning 3 structures today, lots 12, 14, and 17. Immediate safety hazard. The rest of you get 30 days to install proper drainage or face full evacuation orders. He looked straight at Vanessa. And the state attorney general's office wants to talk to the entire board about fraud and endangerment. Vanessa's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound came out. I stood up. Meeting adjourned, I think. Outside, neighbors who had once filmed my berm for the group chat were now quietly taking pictures of the damage to their own homes. A few actually nodded at me as I passed. One older lady, the same one who'd called me that bunker lunatic, touched my arm. Thank you, she whispered. I didn't know. I didn't say anything. Just kept walking. 2 weeks later, the courtroom in the county seat was standing room only. Vanessa arrived in a black suit that screamed, I am the victim here. Her lawyer looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. My attorney, Sarah, the same one who'd quietly taken my case pro bono after seeing the drone footage, placed a single thumb drive on the table. The judge didn't waste time. Mr. Brooks, you documented everything. Every fine, every email, every drop of water. He nodded once. The court has reviewed the county's independent investigation. The 2009 report was deliberately suppressed. The fines issued against you were retaliatory. The lien is void. Furthermore, the board's failure to act constitutes gross negligence. Vanessa made a small choking sound. The gavel came down. All fines against Ethan Brooks are cancelled. The HOA is hereby dissolved pending complete reorganization under county oversight. The former board members are personally liable for all damages caused by the flood that proper mitigation would have prevented. Restitution hearings begin next month. I didn't cheer. I just closed my eyes for a second and let the weight I'd been carrying for 6 months finally slide off my shoulders. Outside on the courthouse steps, the reporters were waiting. I gave them one sentence. I didn't build that berm to win. I built it because someone had to listen to the water. That evening, the new county-appointed safety committee held its first meeting in the same clubhouse. No wine. No charcuterie. Just folding chairs and the smell of fresh coffee. I was asked to chair it. I said yes on one condition. No more rules about what things are allowed to look like if they keep people safe. They voted unanimously. Vanessa never showed up again. Rumor was she'd moved to a condo downtown, where the only water she had to worry about came from a filtered tap. Victor Lang's development company was under investigation. The Johnsons were selling at a massive loss, and had started a GoFundMe titled, Help Us Recover from HOA Negligence. Irony is a hell of a drug. My berm stayed exactly where it was. The county even sent a crew to reinforce it with better materials and a proper plaque that read Community Flood Mitigation Structure. Installed 2025. Kids from the neighborhood started calling it Ethan's Wall, and used it as a backdrop for TikToks about the guy who saved the whole street. I still walk it every morning with my coffee. The timber has weathered to a soft gray now, moss growing in the cracks, and the creek has gone back to its polite little gurgle. But I know it's still down there whispering. And this time the whole neighborhood is finally listening. So here's the question that keeps me up at night and probably keeps you scrolling right now. Was I the villain for building an ugly berm that broke every HOA rule in the book, or were they the real monsters for choosing perfect lawns and higher property values over human lives? Drop your verdict in the comments, Team Ethan or Team Karen, and tell me if you've ever fought your own HOA over something that actually mattered. If this story hit you in the gut, smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one where the HOA tries to ban solar panels and accidentally starts a blackout. Stay safe out there and maybe check your own drainage while you're at it. The water's always listening.